This is a video to answer questions that I'm getting. I'm like the GPT of Excel sports algorithms because Chat GPT doesn't do sports algorithms yet. You're going to start spending a lot of time with artificial intelligence if you aren't already. I'm telling you, the world is changing. Um, I just I just did a I just thought about a whole business plan and talked about it with Chat GPT for the last half an hour and found out I really need to readjust the way that I'm going to approach it. Completely unrelated to sports algorithms. But this is what happens when you try to say, hey, who has the best chance of winning the Stanley Cup this year? Probably spelled some stuff wrong. As an AI language model, I do not have access to up-to-date information about team standings. Oh, you don't, do you? So you can't. So even though the newer versions of GPT-4 or whatever, I believe are working with things like Excel and working with data, I think they're still not connected to like the current internet stats. So you still kind of have to compile stuff manually or with the aid of RotoWire. So I'm going to talk about three things in this video today. NHL playoff bracket, because I got asked about that. I'm going to talk about Major League Soccer. I didn't get asked about Major League Soccer, but I realized it's time to do Major League Soccer because the season has started. And this one kind of worked okay last year. So I'm going to do that and set that one up and start a video series on that before the games that happen on April 8th. I believe there's a bunch of games on April 8th. So you'll see a video probably on the 7th about this, and I'll put that up for sale for not that much, maybe like $50. It's not that big of a deal, and I'm going to update it for a week or two, and then this one, it's easier to update than the baseball, a whole lot easier. So we won't worry about that too much. And then we will talk about baseball, which did not have a good day today, but we're going to dig into that for a minute. So back to hockey. So the question I was asked is, are you going to do the bracket again? Because if you want to run a tournament, a pool or something, and you want to have people pick, soon as the teams are announced, which is about the 16th or 17th, 15th, 16th or 17th, something like that, I will do that. This thing's like a $20 or $25 file. It will, you fill it out and then you copy the entry into this scoring thing, and it will score everybody depending on whatever points. It'll like keep track of who wins, and it awards you points based on a couple things: how many games you thought the series was going to be, and how many points you want to award people getting the correct team in the correct round. So, if this was who it was, and it's not going to be Chicago and Nashville, might be Nashville, but probably not. It's not going to be Minnesota and St. Louis. It's not going to be Anaheim and Calgary, and it's not going to be San Jose, but it will be Edmonton. Point is, if you pick these teams and you get them right, and then you choose the number of games that the series you think is going to go, it's a way of trying to guess, once the teams are named, what the final thing looks like. And it will score itself, and it's good for, if you're doing like the March Madness tournament, it's the same idea for the NHL bracket tournament. It's like that. So yeah, I'll put this thing up for $25 because it doesn't require too much maintenance. I actually pulled this thing out of a 2017 email. I was like, because I couldn't find this file. I was like, yeah, I don't remember how long it's been since I've done the bracket. I probably have one for last year too, but they don't recede anymore. So like this is the proper way to do it, I think. So there you go. So that will be coming out, but not until right around tax time when they name the teams, and I'll put that up on kenbraverman.com. MLS, I pretty much already talked about. That will be coming before April 8th. There will be a video with predictions. Even though it's super early in the season, they probably won't be great. It will detail how you update all of these different tabs and really update the lineup sheet appropriately, get your team stats in there, and predict games with this thing. So that will happen before Friday, I guess, right? All right. So let's go to baseball. Looks like a bad day. It's like a bad day when it comes to 2023 stats. 6 and 8, not profitable above 10% margin. As a matter of fact, the worst of these games right here. Yankees, Cleveland, Houston, Texas, Angels all lose, get blown out on occasions. All right, well, was anything good today, or was it just a really tough day? What about 2022 stats instead of 2023? Better at 7 and 7. So not as bad ROI wise here. Okay, so 2022 had its moments today over 2023. And that's still using 2023 player stats, even in 2022. We're still just using current player stats, not last year's batting stat. So I mean, it's early in season 2, like you can't tie too much anything. Well, what was anything good? Take a look at what the record was every time we do one of these. 7-7, 8-6. Looking at pitcher ERA with 4 wins at the top. Lineup factor wins 3 out of 4 at the top. Awful bullpen ERA factor. BAPIP 8-6 actually. 4-10 with average runs per game. So this was one where average runs for and average runs allowed were terrible. So that means that this was like a regression to the mean day. That's what that means. Means that, as the season starts, every game is pretty impactful when it comes to the stats when there's only 3 or 4 games that have been played so far. So things did not align to the way they had aligned throughout most of the season today, is basically what happened run-wise. And that is why. So, it's not, don't get too down because it's super early. But 2022 was better. So it's always good to look at both. All right. Well, I had some other questions about the MLB algorithm. One was, how do you fix the date to get the date correct? The date is located in the data cube here in column I for all the games. This is where I made it green now so that you need to adjust this every day or the same date is going to stay in there. I'm only setting up this algorithm to work for one day at a time, so it doesn't matter what the date really is. You're looking at today's games once you start pasting stuff in here, so it doesn't really matter. But you could also make it equals today, but that's going to screw you up when you do tomorrow. But this way you don't have to update it every day. So now it's set up for the 5th, right? Even though I haven't added the teams or anything in yet. But that is what that does. And I also had another question about the browse pivot versus the T-cube pivot sheet. And the browse pivot sheet is what used to only be in this file before I started working with making this file a macro and making it automatically run a different set of combinations or 25 different combinations of different variables and strings. So I created this whole area called testing cube, T-cube, and combinations. Well, that's if you're going to run the macro and look at everything. I know some people don't run the macro because it's really complicated and you just want to look at the matchup sheet to look at the game breakdowns right here. Well, when you use the matchup sheet is what is connected directly to the browse pivot sheet. So it's like whatever's showing up on here, that's when you refresh the browse pivot, you get the look of whatever was showing here on the matchup sheet. So, well, what do you do with the matchup sheet to toggle it? You have a couple different areas where you can change things. You can change the combination string between 1 and 25 up here, or you can change the year of team batting and team pitching stats used. Well, what combination should you use? That's a good question. That's what we're testing out because we don't necessarily know. That's why I'm using a streamline average of a bunch of them. But before I leave you on the 10th from stop doing MLB, I will come up with a reasonable range of percentages in here for you to tell you which one you should generally use in most situations. And it's probably going to be something like, it's not going to be one of these where this is the entire factor. It's basically the only thing you're looking at. It's going to be a more streamlined one, something. I don't really know. The answer is I don't really know. You'd have to keep running this to figure it out. But whatever you choose, if you choose number 10, all the percentages change here and all the projections change. And everything in the browse pivot is now looking at combination string number 10 from 2023's player stats. Well, we said 2022 did better. So for example, you could go back to the matchup sheet and say, all right, well, I shouldn't use 2023 today. I'll try 2022 because we had more stats. You change that, everything changes. You go back immediately to the browse pivot sheet and you get a new look at what it was for the day. You can see this is actually a better day that, believe it or not, has some profitability down here, but not really profitability here because you still lose with Cleveland and you lose with the Mets and you lose with Houston again, dropping huge games where they're heavily favored to Detroit. Like Houston, there you go. I mean, I don't know what happened after last season, right? They win, Mattress Mac wins, now they're losing games. Point is, you have the ability to completely change everything right up here and then look at the immediate browse pivot sheet to see what things look like in what order. So it's why I don't have time every day to do all this all day long. And, it requires a lot of effort. And if it's your thing and baseball's your thing, then that's why you buy a copy of this and really go to town with it, because it will help. As Chat GPT cannot give us answers, we gotta find the answers ourselves. So anyway, that's kind of the update. I'm also doing a whole thing about taxes, which Chat GPT also can't seem to help with right now. I like that I'm doing work that the AI will not do for me yet, even though it's going to be doing a lot. But I got a bunch of other projects. I just wanted to update people on what they can get. And I do, anytime somebody asks for something, one other person asked for the NFL Survivor pool from 2017 the other day. And I was like, what video did you find? Survivor pool thing I did for NFL. I'm like, listen, it is April. I go, I can't think about 2017 NFL Survivor pool. I don't know what you need it for. I told the person, I was like, I probably have it. I'm like, do you need it for next year? Like why now? Anyway, point is I usually am able to answer questions about what you need because I've got thousands of different spraps all over the internet for decades now, not decades, but over 10 years on the internet. And it's not just baseball. It's not just soccer. It's not just hockey. It's not just taxes. It's not just genomic sequencing. It's not just, it's all over the place. It's not just payroll. It's not just, it's everything. So I will be able to respond to you and get you what I can, but I also don't want to make the store on kenbraverman.com just like totally random stuff that I have to revisit and update for you. So I want to get you versions of things that are kind of like, when the playoffs are announced, then I'll get this thing done and put it up on kenbraverman.com probably. MLS season on Saturday when I have this thing ready for the current season, I can do a tutorial video. Then I'll put it up for like a few weeks or a month or two. And then not, because I don't want to have to update it for everyone whenever anyone purchases it. I want you to know that it's going to kind of be frozen in time, because unless I can get the AI to completely automate the update process for these, which I'm sure it will get there reasonably soon, then, we wanted just to be able to instruct it and say, hey, Bard, hey, AI Bing, hey, Chat GPT, whatever it is. Can you please update the team stats for the MLS? Can you update the player stats? Can you update the daily lineups? Can you fix any players that are not in our matrix for us by putting their actual real name, by checking for their RotoWire name? Like, these are things I would ask Chat GPT to do for us, or any AI assistant to do for us, so that we can just instruct it to do it, not have to go fetch the data ourselves. And then you get a current version that's updated. So as long as you have the framework here that the artificial intelligence can use, then you're setting yourself head and shoulders above everybody else in terms of how many things you can get done, and the quality of the work probably being pretty good. So I'm going to look down those roads of trying to make things work that way. In the meantime, they still require, 15, 20 minutes, half hour, or an hour or two to update a file like this for the brand new season with all the new roster changes and everything. Like that usually takes a little while, because you have to kind of manually figure out where players moved around and who they are with right now, and make sure you have their name spelled correctly. Like there's a lot of things that related to that take some time. But once it's done, the update process should be pretty easy. So just want to let everybody know that's what's out there. And of course, there'll be more. All right. Good luck, everyone. I hope your picks won today, even though it looked like it was tough with baseball. And may all your picks be winning in the future. See ya. There you go. See ya.